response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, I'm Sharon Skelly, host of Community Close-Up. Please watch us every week here on Rogers TV.
When you're online, Rogers TV on YouTube shares news and events from your community, like messages from local leaders, updates on the latest health news, local business presenting their new offerings, and how our local communities are working their way through these unprecedented times. Visit and subscribe to Rogers TV on YouTube for the latest local information.
This is Rogers TV, Grey County.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of Rogers TV program dedicated to COVID-19 information and resources to inform you and the community of what is available during this pandemic. My name is Carol Merton, and before I introduce our two guests today, for those of you who watch the show regularly, you'll know that I like to say a few words of thanks just at the very, very beginning. So I want to express a sincere and heartfelt thank you to our Medical Officer of Health, our Public Health Unit staff, our community service providers and support agencies, our first responders, our hospitals, retirement homes, and long-term care facilities, our farmers, the essential frontline staff in our grocery stores and pharmacies, the truck drivers and gas station attendants, and so many more that I have not mentioned, for their prompt action and ongoing efforts to keep our community safe. We are all together in this exceptional and ever-changing situation, and we are all neighbors doing our best to support and care for each other. Here at Rogers TV, we continue to provide you with current information regarding our agencies, their services, and words from our elected officials. However, as you're probably already aware, this information changes rapidly. So we encourage you to stay current by going online to the Public Health Unit website at publichealthgraybruce.on.ca, listen to the radio, read the newspaper, and of course, tune into Rogers TV to hear more about the services and programs available to you. Today, I am absolutely delighted to welcome two guests, and I want to thank both of you for being on the program today. From California, by wonderful world of Skype, Edwin Huizinga, who is the Sweetwater Festival Artistic Director, and also Paul Eichhorn, who is the Sweetwater Manager. I want to thank both of you and welcome you to the program to tell us about how you're keeping the music alive, the new normal, and some of the new things you're trying out to keep people connected. So thank you for being on this program today.
Thank you, Carol. And maybe Edwin could talk a bit about how he's feeling. I think as a performer as well, he's been, to say the least, feeling a little lonely because he hasn't had his audiences. And I know, Edwin, you've said a lot of this at board meetings and in different situations. Maybe you want to talk a bit about that part of the whole experience.
Yes, of course. I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. I'm here from sitting on my deck in California, and it's been such a strange time for artists and musicians. I grew up in rural Ontario and have just recently moved here, and not being able to travel and perform in the way that I have for so many years has been a really different experience. And One of the things that we are trying to do at Sweetwater Music Festival is think about how we can continue to be present for our audiences and our incredible community in Owen Sound and beyond during this time. Because, you know, for me, I absolutely love to play music. And it's as much as I've enjoyed finding ways to make videos and do a little bit of online teaching and even do some live streaming, which is absolutely remarkable how that's even possible. But it has been challenging, and the board and Paul and Sweetwater, we've been developing all these ideas to just find ways to still connect with you all, and I really I hope that this intermediate time where we're all trying to, you know, stay home and really be safe with what we do, that we can still find ways to share music.
I have a question, Edwin. My understanding is, from the artistic point of view, it is about the music, but it's also about the relationship between the artist and the audience that helps to make the experience so meaningful. When you're not in front of a live audience, I'm sure that changes things. So I'm wondering if you could, or Paul, whichever, talk about some of the new strategies, because I did get the press release that you have, and I'd be fascinated if you could almost walk through, because you have, you know, some virtual showcasing, some music education, and just talk about what's different about it from the artist's perspective. And do you think this is something post-COVID, and I remain positive about post-COVID, that you may continue?
Edwin, did you want me to run through it and then I'll let you do the artist side? Does that sound like a good way to go here?
Fantastic.
Okay. So obviously when all this came about, I think all organizations had to go, what do we do now? And for some organizations, I think they threw up their hands and said, I guess we're kind of shut down for a year. And I think that Edwin, as he has talked about, certainly is not a person who's going to do that. And Sweetwater did not want to do that either. So we initially looked at what are some things we could do right away. One of the things we did, for example, was we have a rich archive of recordings of all our festivals from 2004 onward. And it was a great opportunity to finally get those organized. And now we have a number of those, which we are highlighting every week, called Sweetwater Redux. So people can revisit past festivals, which is pretty amazing. There was last week we had performance from 2004, our first year, with cello player David Hetherington, who was playing a musical saw. And most people probably never even heard of that unless they were there, and they maybe forgot about it. So that's a kind of fun thing that we've been able to do. The other thing we've done is Edwin, of course, has done a few online performances, a music moment with Edwin, we call it. And so that's been really nice. Again, chances for people to connect with him, and a chance for him to say hello, how are you doing, and share music, because that's what we're all about. And I guess the other thing that came up was we had the Next Wave showcase, which we did last year with young emerging performers, 14 to 29. And we had it at the Historic Leith Church. It was an amazing day at the end of May, beginning of June. Well, of course, we couldn't do that this year. So what we did was we launched this as a virtual showcase that we're going to be inviting those performers to submit videos of their performances. Edwin will go through them, pick out the top performers, and we're going to highlight them online in the later part of June. So the deadline has now actually been extended to June 12th to give more people opportunities. And this could be from a wide range of areas who can get involved with this. So those are some of the initial things that we're doing. But we definitely have some things on the education side as well. But I'll let Edwin kind of jump in here and talk a bit about how he sees some of this.
Yeah, you know, as one of the interesting things during this time has really been noticing how quickly people are responding. So And also I just want to say on behalf of the artistic community, also I really appreciate that people have given us a chance to, make mistakes or just understand that, some of us have been very far removed from the digital world. So making these transitions is incredibly different and sometimes challenging, but it's been amazing. And one of the ways that we can really connect, I think, is, for example, I'm so excited to be able to participate with all of these young people that might want to be part of the virtual showcase. And I can offer them ways to spend time with me while I'm here at home. I can try to connect them with other local students that they might not have met. One of the things I told the board the other day, I said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could virtually connect two young musicians in the same town who had never met? And then, speaking of post-COVID, they can finally pick up the phone and say, let's meet up in person, And so I really want to make this possible if we can. And of course, we're going to need students and young kids really to sign up and be part of this with us. But the other thing is that we put out a survey to our audience and asked them, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear? And how do you want to be part of our future as an organization? Because sometimes I feel like even at a concert, people might be a little bit anxious or nervous to come up to one of us, and they say, oh, that person just flew in from Nova Scotia and we have no idea who they are. Why would they want to talk to us? But there's some kind of almost beauty in being able to send an email or a quick message and say, by the way, what is your feeling of this? Or would you be interested in performing this kind of music that we really love? So I'm excited about really trying to reach out and continue to be part of the community even during this time. I think it's definitely possible. And I know that some of us are lonely, and I want to accept and appreciate that and say that let's join each other and find ways to share in that way.
So certainly using music as a way of helping people to connect with each other, just in a slightly different forum. As an artist, your experience of using the new technology, does it change the sound of your music?
So yes, it's been a really interesting kind of transition. I myself have dedicated some resources to building a very small home studio, and I've actually started to also offer my expertise, as small as they may be, to my students and colleagues and say, look, for a very small amount of money, you can buy a small piece of software, small piece of hardware, and one microphone, and you can actually become your own very small recording studio. And what I've been using with my students as well is I've asked them to every week, even if it's on their little phone, send me a recording. And it's just, and then I also say, send it to your grandma, send it to your best friend, and it's kind of like all of these little moments where, during our lifetime, if we get a birthday card or if we get a little package in the mail, these things lift up your day and they lift up your life. And I want to find ways to create these little musical packages that we can continue to give.
Yes.
And then the live streaming is of course challenging. The last 2 live streams that I've personally done have been with a audiovisual experienced person. Because I really feel like it's important for me to try to have just the absolute best quality I can possibly offer. And of course that takes, perhaps one other person. And what that means is you have to develop a very, very safe way to work together. And the nice thing about these things is you could easily be in a room 25 feet apart, and be really careful. But I'm actually building a small home studio, as I said, with video capabilities in my home. So I really encourage all of you at home that you can do these small things, and it becomes a wonderful way to connect.
So I'm wondering, Paul, this may be a question for you. Where does the funding come from? So you're obviously, putting things, and there is, the virtual showcase. So how can the community support you? I guess this is the opportunity to talk about that.
Well, obviously, Sweetwater, like a lot of artistic organizations today, is going through some challenges in that regard. A lot of our revenue obviously comes from live events. We were supposed to have actually 2 events last week. One of them was our Sweetwater Jazz 4 at the Hartwood Hall. A great event sells out. Well, it didn't happen, so there's a revenue loss there. And so these are challenging times. We're fortunate to have good funding from both the Ontario Arts Council and Canadian Heritage, and they've been really good about supporting organizations through this. Even the municipality of Meaford, for example, gives us a small grant. They've totally backed us up, and they said, no matter what happens this year, those organizations are saying, we're going to be there for you, which is really great. We also have a great base of both donors and corporate partners and individual partners who provide sponsorships. And, I think that we certainly will hope that all of them can be on board still, because we are going to be still doing things this year, and the organization is not going away. And we want to be here not only for, obviously the next year, but for years to come. So I think for all arts organizations, we really appreciate those people who are going to be there, because we need it in order to do this. And I think everybody wants the music. And Edwin talked about those opportunities. And so if we have that support, we've got a couple of education things we want to be doing in the next month. Edwin's going to be offering some violin lessons and music lessons for students. One of the performers was going to be at the jazz event, Jaron Freeman Fox, who's based in Toronto. He's going to be doing some outreach education for local students. And so these are opportunities with the support of different, funding bodies and individuals who are part of our Sweetwater family, as we like to say. They make it happen. So, without that, the music cannot keep going. So we want to keep that music alive, and everybody is helping out to do that.
So you're keeping the music alive, not necessarily in live performances, but through the use of technology. So it's just it's choosing a different medium to keep that music alive. So I'd like to go back to the Next Wave virtual showcase and just to ask a few more questions about that. So you've extended the date for submissions, and who can submit? Is it geographically limited, or?
Well, last year we had, interestingly, the large portion of the performers from Grey Bruce, which is obviously our main focus area, because that's where we're based. But we actually had performers submit from Nova Scotia, from throughout Ontario. I think we had one from Quebec. And so we do open it up, because Sweetwater has, like our festival, we have performers from around the world. So we are opening this up, certainly beyond just Grey Bruce. But we do like that, we want to have the local flavor. And then we also want to have that availability to people beyond to do with this particular event. And I think it certainly is, as we say in the the copy for it, it's going to be potentially viewable by people around the world. So in one sense, it's actually a bigger platform than even last year's festival, which was really with some clips and whatever online and recordings, which people could access from around the world. You to see the concert and the performances, you had to be there. So I think in one sense, the performers are getting a bigger platform in some ways. And again, we're looking for people between 14 and 29. So these are the young performers who are developing and going to go on to university or careers in music. We want to be that bridge to provide a showcase for them. And so that's what we're looking for. These are not people who are just doing it for fun now and then they're going to go and do something else when they're 18. These are people moving on who are really serious about it. That's what we're looking at.
So quite a targeted venture, trying to really encourage that career development, for sure. And then there will be some that are selected. So the music education, is that actually teaching people to play? Is it and how do you structure that? I remember my days sitting beside the piano teacher, so I'm just curious.
I'll let you go on that one, Edwin. I think you have some experience already.
Yes, of course. So, I mean, I've done, this is actually my first season, will be hopefully in some way, and already is my first season as artistic director. My predecessor, Mark Fewer, is one of my biggest friends and mentors, and he just is wonderful. So I've actually been part of Sweetwater for over a decade as a violinist, as a performer, as an educator. And we've gone into so many different schools and really tried to connect with students on the basis of what it's like to be a full-time performing artist, because there isn't that much music education in many schools. And we try to just share the importance of it when we can, and also to give individual students the ability to understand that they can seek this out on their own. And I have to say, one of the big sort of emotional things that I've been thinking a lot about during COVID-19 and the pandemic is that I was thinking to myself, how beautiful would it be if every single child in the world had some kind of instrument? So, because I don't think I'm alone in saying that the violin is a friend to me. And so if you have a ukulele or a violin, or a flute, or a cello, or your voice, these things become a really big part of your life. And even if you touch them 10 minutes a day, and it becomes this sort of, cathedral for you, it becomes this sort of safe place, it's kind of a way that I consider some of my practice time. I consider it meditation. And I just, my goal is to really share that with as many people as I can. And going back to the virtual showcase, what we can do is we can give the attention to the people that are interested in, as Paul said, in more ways than we ever have before. And the other thing that I would like to say is, because I'm a musician with so many colleagues around the world and in the Grey Bruce area, if there's a cellist that applies, I could connect you and offer, and through the festival, through the Sweetwater Music Festival, we can perhaps offer you a coaching with an amazing cellist. Someone like Roman Boris, who has been, a performer at Sweetwater, or perhaps one of our younger performers, or perhaps even a performer like Julie Harish, who was going to be one of our performers for this season. Like, there's just so many possibilities, and I really want to encourage that.
So this is actually opening up the opportunity for mentorship amongst the artistic community across the world. Who would have thought, really? I mean, do you Do you think in the future that you will continue with this kind of use of technology as a hybrid model of delivering music? Is that a possibility where it would be a combination of live and technology?
Yes, I really hope that will be the case in the future. One of the things I've talked to the board about and Paul is that we look forward to be able to offer this to people that perhaps can't leave their house or their retirement home, or, my sister, for example, is an incredibly amazing music lover, but she has some physical disabilities where she might not be able to go everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I would really like to offer that, we literally discussed this last week, and we said, let's make sure from now on and forever, we find at least one program for all of our Sweetwater festival where we offer it literally to the world.
Yeah. I know that to prepare for this interview, I did actually go and listen to some of the music, but I'm wondering if you'd explain to the viewing audience how they can do that as well, how they tune in. And I certainly encourage people to tune in and just to listen, because
Well, we fortunately have a pretty robust social media and website presence. Sweetwatermusicfestival.ca. Just put us in on the old Google there, and you can find us. And we have a YouTube channel where we post some of the video clips, SoundCloud where we have our audio recordings, especially the past ones, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So all those have anything we post on our website are also shared on social media. So it's really in a multi-way. And we also have an e-blast we send out every 2 weeks where we have a lot of good messages about what we're doing, what's up, updates from Edwin, reaching out to people. The survey we just put out recently, there's links to that. So I think if you want to stay connected with what we're up to and what we're doing, and hear the music and see the performances, make sure you follow us on those online presences. And there's, like I said, for different people, different things work. We have everything there for you. So whatever works for you, tune in and there.
Excellent. So with the Sweetwater Music Festival and the artists, do you have an approximate number of how many are involved with your festival and your community? Is that a fair question? I mean, guess, you're hoping.
So this is for what? How many artists that we typically have involved, or this year, or what's? Yeah, I think typically we're usually around a dozen to about 17 to 20 over the year, individual artists, excluding the next wave. Like last year, that was another 10 or 12 with that event. Yeah. Edwin, do you want to just talk a bit about that?
So we have just a couple of minutes in the program, so prioritize what you want to say, Edwin.
Okay. Well, yeah, I feel like our community is constantly growing, and we have this year, throughout this past year, I've been working with about 21 artists that were going to be part of this festival. And our audience has also been growing. And last year, I was part of the festival as a performer. And it was one of the highlights of my year to see so many people.
Excellent. And on that note, I have to say our program, 30 minutes, has finished. I want to I know it goes by so fast. I want to thank both of you. Please join me again, because it's just fascinating. And thank you for what you're doing, both of you. Thank you to our viewing audience as well. Please join us again to learn more about resources and services available to you. Take care and stay safe.